Welcome to Post-Burnout.com interviews. My name is Aaron Kavanagh and I'm the website's founder and editor-in-chief. Post-Burnout.com is a culture website dedicated to venerating burnt-out artists the world over. Our interviews are mainly recorded to be transcribed, but every now and again we release the audio in a series we call Post-Burnout.com interviews. If you enjoy what we do, be sure to subscribe. In this edition of Post-Burnout.com interviews, we speak with Lenny, Lowe and Amber of the Dublin queer post-punk trio Touch Excellent. They discuss their latest single, Overtone, which examines the unnecessary cruelty trans people experience while accessing gender-affirming care through the HSE, their Trans Harm Reduction Fundraiser gig at the Grand Social, their punk roots, their background, their busy 2023, the Dublin music scene and future plans. So before we begin, I just want to pass on a message. When I was interviewing the Amniotics a week or two ago, your band came up and I said, "Oh yeah, I'm going to be interviewing them," and they told me to say hi. So I passed that message on now.
Oh, that's so sweet. We love the Amniotics.
The first question I wanted to ask quite simply was, how did you guys begin? Like, and what was the I guess kind of the backstory to the band?
Sure. I can see Amber's in transit. So we started as a jam band, just kind of during lockdown. It was something to do with a very small amount of people. And there was a gang of us and we were just playing other people's songs. And then just kind of because I knew I had access to a bunch of musicians, I started writing music, and I really had a song in my heart because I wrote 6 songs in about 2 months. And then I think everyone has given writing a song a go since then, and yeah, we were just like, this is super fun. It's a great way to connect with people and stuff. I think people are also just looking for that sense of being able to meet, like-minded people, and as it turns out, having a band and broadcasting all of your opinions is a really good way to attract people who feel similar.
How did you know each other prior to that, actually?
Amber and I have known each other since college. And then Lo, we've also known since that period of time, but we did not all go to college together. We had the same friends.
Yeah, I was just kind of floating around.
Yeah. Lurking in Dublin City.
And then like kind of when you came together and you started like playing music together, what do you find like the similarities was in terms of your musical interest? Because I know like there was I think like mutual interests over like punk and hardcore, as well as kind of like Irish traditional music as well.
Yeah.
I was wondering what you felt like the similarities were, and was there any contrasts as well? Like, was there any particular genre one person was bringing to the table, or anything like that?
It's kind of funny where the similarities are and the differences are. Like, myself and Lo would both have enjoyed stuff like My Chemical Romance, but Lo to a much larger degree. And then we'd both be coming from like a trad music background, which is nice. And then myself and Amber would both be more into maybe older punk records and stuff. I don't know, Amber, if you want to talk more about the kind of music you think you brought to the band and where you think you were like us or not like us.
I definitely think I'm like very interested in the kind of punk and hardcore scenes. I think the like things that are really interesting, the bands that kind of united us were more ideological than musical. Like, it was much more, the one I always kept bringing to the table was Chumbawamba.
Yeah.
But then we were also thinking about people like They Might Be Giants. We were thinking about kind of people who could talk about politics and who could talk about serious issues, but who could do it through humor and who could do it with a kind of smile on their face. I think those are the kind of things that drew us together. It was less the sound and more the vibe, I suppose.
Yeah, and kind of like, actually, because like the band is obviously a very politically driven band. I mean, as heard from your first song, Houses, I mean, it was like it's kind of about the kind of housing crisis in Ireland, and kind of how just everything is going to be kind of just like replicated by these. Actually, just as a side note, did you see today? I just noticed that there's planning permission given to the biggest the largest building in Dublin that's going to be brought about. So like now our skylines are going to be like driven by like high rises. It's going to be insane. When it kind of came to like what topics you guys were going to tackle, I mean, what How did you kind of decide that, or did it just kind of come naturally when it came to like writing songs?
I think that the vibe is kind of that we'd be going around like it would be good to have a song about such and such thing, like with houses. I a few again smaller artists have written songs, released songs about the housing crisis kind of since then as well. But we were just sort of like, it's crazy that this is the main, not even political issue, like topic of conversation for real. If you're like under maybe 40 in Ireland, like I feel like I never have a conversation where it doesn't affect someone in some way. But there was just nothing. There was no like. There's a lot of visual art being made and stuff, obviously, but there wasn't a lot of music being made about it. So we were feeling very motivated to write a song about that. And then just we just write about stuff that we care about. We've got Overtone because it's about trans rights because we care about that. We've got Record because it's about the similar thing of feeling like weird about interacting with the medical system, a little bit more of a broken, abstract way. And then, right now we're in Temple Lane recording a song about sobriety because I'm sober. So that's something that comes up for me and stuff. So
Hey, me too.
It's really, hey. Dozens of us, for real, trying to get that Heineken Zero sponsorship in a very real way, if you know anyone.
I don't.
But yeah, we just write about stuff that we care about and talk about and think about normally, day to day.
Yeah, let's talk about Overtone then, because this is about the healthcare system and kind of how it's sort of very like unrelentingly kind of cruel to trans people. I haven't experienced it myself being cis, but I have heard like other people from like trans and intersex pride talk about it, and like from their perspective they were saying like it's kind of been monopolized. This is my understanding of it, and if I'm wrong, correct me. But like my understanding is that kind of trans healthcare has sort of been monopolized by the Lachlan Sound Centre, which is kind of a very difficult center to get to. It's sort of like very obtuse in a way, and when you go there, there's very like invasive questioning about like porn habits, about like all these kind of like really kind of like distressing and unnecessary kind of questions. And then there's obviously like a long waiting list, I think of like a decade and stuff. So it just seems like it's very antiquated and very like kind of cruel. And obviously that's what your song is about. I was wondering if maybe if you could talk a bit about Overtone.
I guess you seem to have perfectly good grasp on the background here, but I think Amber could maybe talk a bit more about kind of our read on the situation, and I could talk about the song itself.
Yeah, I guess the kind of political context you really kind of put in place that the kind of political reality of trans people in Ireland. I think as well it's worth mentioning the amount of trans people who are self-medicating, who are using grey markets, about the kind of support of the community itself and the self-reliance of the community. The system has created let me even kind of I think because we have the kind of political context down, I'm going to give like my own personal context and what I brought to the song when I was kind of walking into the room. So for me, the experience of kind of hearing the song for the first time was arriving to this rehearsal, this jam session, where our friend Briley was playing with Lenny and Mo, and they put together this really powerful chorus around this kind of will you wait concept. At that point, I had been through everything you were talking about. It took me 5 years from the first time I saw a GP and said I want hormones to actually sitting down with the NGS. I went through those screening processes. I went through all this stuff, and so much of my life for a long time was kind of grounded in like the fight for our own rights and the fight for like a better system. I think the really important thing to state is that we lost. The things are not getting better; they're getting worse. And I kind of feel angry about that every day. And I kind of only get angrier about it. And the kind of powerlessness we feel is kind of the thing that we wanted to communicate with this song. Like, this isn't necessarily a song about like grasping political change. This isn't an instruction manual to assist people in any way. This is like, we really wanted to translate what it feels like to be stuck in the system into music. I hope that's something we've achieved. Like, we're really happy with how it came out. I think Lenny can kind of expand on the songwriting side of that.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, we have this friend Barley. She'd written this great chorus. She was like, I have this idea for a song about the trans healthcare crisis. And it's definitely something that, like, as a band we had talked about before, but everyone just sort of felt like it was hard to express how we were feeling. And I'm actually the only one who also has not interacted with trans healthcare things in any way. So it's funny that I'm the one who wrote the lyrics, but that's just how it happens sometimes. Um, I kind of the lyrics don't specifically say at any point this is about trans people, and so even though I feel like it gets really specific, it also has sort of a universality to it. Like, you were saying there are these, horrible invasive questions that come up about like porn consumption and how do you feel in these sexual situations and stuff. And so, we have lyrics like that. I want to think about your pain. I want to hear about your pain. I want to think about your body. And so then that obviously like really applies there. But then I was kind of also thinking of it in a broader thing of, the way that church and patriarchy has shaped the total landscape of Ireland. Like, I think it's a song that would be as applicable to talking about, the repeal campaign in, say, 2014. It's a song that would be applicable to, the survivors of the Magdalen laundries, waiting decades to get, totally meager amount of redress. Yeah, like when I was sitting there, I was like, this is, really digging into the specifics, but then kind of reflecting on it, I don't know, it expresses a lot of frustrations that I have with the world at large as well. And I hope that it maybe helps people see that these things are connected.
Yeah. No, and it's kind of like what I think is like kind of cool about this, that like you are seeing, like I think on the one hand it is kind of deplorable how, like, kind of Irish mainstream media is sort of like scapegoating trans people, and kind of like, I don't know, like there's all these like quote unquote national conversations we have to be having about trans people, like that you just don't have to have about any other group of people. And I think like, while mainstream media is doing like such a like piss poor job in my opinion of kind of like giving trans people a kind of voice to counter the sort of bigotry and the disdain that they're facing for really no reason at all, it's kind of like good that there are sort of alternative means like bands such as yourself to kind of come out and like address it directly, and kind of like, I don't know, do you ever feel like kind of like with queer art in general, or kind of like, with the spaces in general, like, I mean, Amber, you were talking about that like kind of great network that we sort of have in kind of the alternative scene. Do you find like it is in any way an attempt to trying to kind of counter what's being said in kind of like the news, or anything like that?
Yeah, I can
Yeah, good.
be fast if you don't mind. Just that such an integral part of Touch Excellent for me is the live shows and the experience of the live shows and kind of the community that we build around that. So I guess that would be kind of my response to that. I think Lenny was going to say something.
Just something very similar, I think. Yeah, that definitely the main way that Touch Exit is creating a community is, that people listen to music and engage with us online and stuff, but it's the energy that is in the room when we play live gigs that is so amazing. Like, easily, some of the best moments that I've had from the band is people coming up to us after a gig and saying, you wrote a song about trans rights, it really resonated with me, thank you for expressing this.
My other question is actually about kind of like music as a vehicle to kind of express kind of like ideas from kind of like marginalized people, or people who otherwise wouldn't have a voice in the kind of mainstream media. And I think like, or just mainstream kind of, I guess, culture, or however you want to phrase it. I mean, it's like, I think like when you look at like sort of the percentage of people in Ireland who are trans, like it's just kind of unfeasible for every person in Ireland to know a trans person. I think while education is a good means of kind of like I don't know, like countering a lot of bigotry, I think with the ability to educate comes the ability to miseducate, where I think like with integration and kind of actually hearing other voices, like I think it actually, I don't know, I think it's just a good means of kind of addressing it in a kind of in a way where it's like, if say a trans person, you can't like it's hard to kind of fall for the kind of misinformation or the bigotry. Same with any kind of group of people. I mean, like, if you know someone of a certain of a kind of people who are being kind of lambasted unjustly, it's more difficult to fall for it, I think. I was wondering, do you find like there is reach outside, like for your music, for the appeal, in terms of like, I don't know, people potentially becoming like fans of your band organically, and then just like, I don't know, kind of being exposed to sort of life experiences that they mightn't have had otherwise, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting idea. Yeah, we're definitely not making songs that are like, you should be nice to trans people and here's why, you should be nice to gay people and here's why. But definitely I think that, we write a lot of songs about things that just affect people in general. Again, the housing crisis, sobriety. We have like sillier songs as well, more romantic, lighthearted ones like Couch Song. The other thing we're recording in Temple Lane right now with the Tilt Development Program is about getting too high, getting a little bit scared. So, a lot of universality, the songs for sure. So, yeah, I suppose it would be nice if people listened to our songs and, opened their hearts a little bit more to LGBT people because of that. But I can't say that, like, I sat down to try Overtone and went, this will really get some cis people on side or whatever. Sure. I get it. Yeah, our art is more just a way of us expressing ourselves and hoping that people respond to it in a positive way.
Yeah, and I think they will. Enough for that's worth. I also want to talk about your gig coming up on the 21st. Actually, same day as the single comes out. It's at the Grand Social. It's for the Trans Harm Reduction Fundraiser. Yeah, I was wondering if maybe you could just talk a little bit about that show and kind of like what people can kind of expect from it.
Yeah, I definitely, Amber can do the talking here. She's done so much fabulous work to get this together. It's our first time like organizing the whole gig from scratch, and Amber's doing loads of work there.
Yeah, we're so excited. It's gonna be really good. It's gonna be Grand Social on the 21st. We have Big Tears, who are this incredible, also like all trans punk band. They're a very different vibe to us. They're much more like X-Ray Specs, where we're like Riot Girl, if that is the distinction that kind of makes sense. It is like 5 years more old school in a way that is like gorgeous. They have this song about like a leather jacket boyfriend that I had to invite them to the gig just so I could hear the song again. We played with them in Trans Punk a month ago, or like a few months ago, and it was some of the most fun we've ever had. We're so excited to get back with them. We have Spit, who are like classics of the Dublin hardcore scene. Every photo you see of them online is with the bass player like going at it with a violin bow on the bass. So we're expecting to get some kind of like harsh noise in there. And then we also have Race Car Bed, who recently produced Fillmore's album. If you listen to that, that is like, I think for all three of us, one of our albums of the year. And they're this incredible like hyperpop artist in their own right. They're putting out their own, I forget if it's an album or an EP. I think it's an EP.
I think it's an EP, yeah.
They are absolutely like phenomenal. I don't know anyone else in Ireland making like electronic music that's like weird and interesting then. And then there's us. There's us as well. And all the money is going to Trans Harm Reduction, which is this amazing Irish group that do a lot of like testing of hormones to make sure that they are like safe and that they are they contain what they say they contain, basically, and to make sure that Irish trans people have like safe, timely access to healthcare. They're excited that like the song about a thing means that we can like hopefully do some good at the same time for the cause, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And just sorry, one last thing I actually wanted to talk about. I just mangled the chronology. I actually wanted to talk a little bit about sort of your music, actually, a little bit. Just like one thing I thought was really cool when I listened to Houses was that it was kind of like this a very like old school kind of demo vibe. This was your first single released, and it kind of reminded me actually of like kind of like sort of like early kind of 90s kind of like alternative, like legitimately independent lo-fi, kind of like K Records or like Kill Rock Stars, like kind of like that label. I was wondering, like, was that kind of like an intentional choice to kind of like put out something like it's kind of raw and kind of just like, low frills like that?
Yeah, we were literally just like, okay, we are going to put something on the internet. That was our big plan. So we have this really excellent friend, Tate, that low brought into our lives. And the reason that houses sound so lo-fi and authentic is because it was literally our friend Tate filming on a pretty nice camera. There's a YouTube video that goes with it. The camera looks great. And it's literally just him recording us playing the song. So if you hear, like, sometimes you're like, oh, there's a nice pan on the drum there, that is because the camera was pointing towards Amber. And yeah, literally we just did it in one take. Well, like a few takes, but like the thing you hear is just all one go of it. And yeah, we've just put the video on YouTube and we ripped the audio from it and put that on Spotify and stuff, just a sort of way to be like, we're here. Touch Excellent is what we care about.
I thought it was so cool because it was like it is such like distinctive style. Like when I was listening to it, I was like, there, like it is kind of like on parallel. Like I don't know, like I was mentioned, kind of like, you listen to those kind of old school like kind of records. They did it that way just because it was like the most cost effective means of kind of like getting a record out and like recording it in a day and stuff. And I don't know, I just think it's like a really cool kind of like old school sort of means of production that just sort of is seemingly going. I think like now with kind of like home production and stuff, like everyone can, there's like a baseline of competency, I think, for every like record and stuff, and there's a baseline of professionalism, I guess, and expectation. I just think it's like so cool just to kind of book that trend and just kind of go like, no, we're just gonna go do it this way. I really thought it was like very distinctive.
Yeah, it was so fun to do. And it's funny that you say baseline of competency, because we've obviously done like a few things in the studio since then.
I'm not saying
something in the studio. No, I get what you mean, that you're being like a level of, production quality, whatever. But like, I definitely think it was more stressful. It's like harder for everyone to play the song perfectly in one go.
Yeah, because if you mess up,
to be like, okay, I'll do like 14 takes of this bass line, and then we'll use like the bits that are the best from each take of that, and then we'll do the same for the drums and the same for the guitar and the same for the vocals. Like, the recording of Houses was a greater display of confidence. But, yeah, for sure, it's lo-fi, but it works for that song, And since then, just the fact that we have access to a studio has made us more ambitious with the kind of songs that we are writing now.
Yeah, this actually, the single coming out, Overtone, this is actually your fourth single just this year alone. I was wondering, like, because I talked to certain artists and like they're like, oh yeah, we have like real difficulty, like we have a backlog of songs, but it's like it's just difficult, just being able to record them, getting the space, getting the time, the money, and such. Have you guys had that issue too, like where it's like trying to actually get them recorded, or has it been kind of smooth sailing for the most part?
We've been super lucky because we recorded in some, fine, we're rehearsing in some fine rehearsal spaces around Dublin. But then one of the days we booked in with Beardfire on Harold's Cross, and they're amazing. They are a rehearsal space and recording studio. So the 3 studio singles that you're getting from Touch Excellent in 2023, record, couch song, Overtone, that's all Beardfire. They're super awesome. We were able to work out a deal with them of, hey, if we promise to record a few songs with you guys, can we get a nice rate? And they said yes. And so, similarly, the way that we're just like, we are Touch Excellent, we are making an impression. We said that we'd kind of do one every season.
Yep.
So that's it. We're not keeping up this rate of output forever. There'll have to be an EP or whatever at some point. But once we got this out now, like I said, we're part of this Tilt development deal, recording in Temple Lane. So we've got we're recording 2 songs there, and we're thinking about what to do with them. We might package everything we have up into a little EP or something, but we're not totally set in any direction there.
Actually, I mean, that, like, what you're kind of saying there about, like, kind of like doing it all in one package and then like spreading it out over the year, I think that's like a really kind of like smart maneuver to do, because like I mean, like I think we are kind of in this like single I don't know, kind of mindset where it's like, you know, you had to kind of be releasing stuff every so often to kind of keep you in people's consciousness. What I think what I think is good about the singles releases, I think they actually do show kind of versatility and style. You know, like actually Overtone is coming out. Like I think like of your record so far, this is of your singles so far, like this is the most kind of like appropriate given the subject matter. I think it's your most kind of like relentless, just kind of like, you know, there like your other songs all had kind of like kind of melodic kind of I mean this one's kind of like I think more hauntingly beautiful. I do think there is kind of like a haunting melody to it all. But like the others were kind of I think had a lot more kind of like direct pop kind of melodies and kind of like kind of fun, kind of euphoric kind of music to it. Where yeah, do you find was that kind of a conscious thing where it's like, okay, we're gonna like try and release singles over the course of the year that will kind of like show our diversity?
Yeah, we're kind of staking the four corners of the map maybe with everything we've done so far. Yeah, I feel like anything else you hear from Touch Excellent, you'll be able to say, oh, it's more like, you know, one of these other ones that I've already heard. Yeah, we went with record first just because it was such a short and simple song. We were like, great way to not waste a load of studio time, you know. There's no way we won't be able to play this song.
Yeah.
And then Couch Song is, you know, obviously that little bit gentler and you're right, you know, that little bit poppier. So we were able to do more interesting things, like, you know, there are layers of backing vocals and stuff in there. Lo has a few different guitar parts going on. I was able to play a little guitar part in it, which was nice. And then Overtone, yeah, it's just us being more comfortable in the studio again. Lo doing everything on the guitar, like really created an amazing soundscape there. And we're going absolutely wild on the drums and, you know, being able to bring in all these great references for, you know, what she wanted to sound like. And yeah, you're right. The kind of our references that we brought in, we're almost veering a little bit more towards the gothic in terms of what we wanted to sound like there, especially with that big, crazy choral outro that we put together and stuff.
I guess one final question I'll ask is, as a three piece, you find it easier to kind of like streamline everything together in terms of like, do you find, I guess there's like lack of conflict in terms of like what your direction is going to be, and just in general, do you find there's any challenges as a three piece, like in terms of what you're trying to sonically produce and then produce it live? Is there consideration, for example, of you know, we're not going to put anything on the record that we can't perform live, or is it kind of just like whatever suits the record at any given moment?
Going from the end of that question to the start,
Sure.
I don't think we consciously say we're not going to record anything that we can't play live. Like I said, you know, we've got layers of guitar and vocals and stuff that you just obviously can't do on stage with three people. But everything that we write, we're definitely thinking about playing it live first. So even if we add some bits to it to record, we're definitely writing songs to be performed live. This isn't a late stage Beatles situation or anything.
Okay.
I did, like, when we started recording and I was like, oh, I can't just have one guitar track recorded. It sounds kind of crap. I'll record like 3 or 4 per song. After we started doing that, I got a loop pedal and I'm like determined to basically be able to play guitar with my feet with this loop pedal. It's the timing issue is difficult, but I'm determined to become really good at using the loop pedal. I've come a ways in it, I think, but to like go back and learn essentially what we wrote for the tracks that we recorded so that we can play them live, the way they are on the record.
Yeah, Lo and his loop pedal are great. And sometimes we'll record like a vocal harmony and then I'll be like, that sounds really good, Lo, you got to start doing that when we play it live. And then as a 3-piece, definitely it's easier to like schedule rehearsals and go places and stuff when I see like these massive bands with like 8 people in them, I think.
Yeah.
Well, I'm actually very impressed by your scheduling before you play a note. I think we come from pretty similar places and want similar things with the band, but I think it's only fair that everyone gets to voice how they feel on that one. Amber, do you feel like you're an equal and valued member of Touch Excellent?
I do.
It's so awkward you said no.
The thing we've said since day one is that like the first rule of Touch Excellent is that everyone has to be having fun.
Yeah.
You
So,
stole my answer. That's what I was gonna say. Amber said
Look
this
at
one
everyone
thing
having
How
fun.
blind
very
everyone
first
is.
day. Anyway,
I think, okay, in that case, I'm going to go back and answer the last question because I have something to say. You can talk about everyone having fun. Just in terms of like our sound live on stage, I think one of the really interesting things for us is like we've been playing so much this year and our sound has really been evolving, and it's been so interesting for us seeing this like dialectic between going into the studio and being like, oh, that sounds great, and then like we've added a bunch of pedals to our setup. I think there's something very like classically punk about the way we are doing this. That is like on one level born out of necessity, on another born out of like what we can financially achieve. Is like the other great limiter for us is that like we're all like dudes in our mid-20s. That like our sound is defined by like what we can like pick up in secondhand shops a lot of the time. I think it does give us this like interesting dynamic sound that we are like scrapping bits and pieces together, and I think it gives us something a little different. It gives us a little spice, little something like that. It's the kind of less is more effect, I guess. That I think we get something really cool and interesting when the three of us play live.
Yeah, that's a good point. Because like because like you think of like even like say the grunge movement, and like that was all born from like thrift stores and just kind of like getting your hands on whatever you can get. I think that is like such a, I don't know, you do really get interesting stuff like that based on the kind of necessity of the circumstances. Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, so the vocals are always so ambitious because you can sing for free. Lo, talk about how much fun you have in the band.
I will add to
Gun
that
just
that
out of frame.
part of the reason why there's so much like static in Overtone, not like feedback in Overtone, is because like that I was using a pedal that I actually borrowed from the guys in Beardfire, and I'd never used it before, and I was like, oh my god, it creates feedback, and I've been looking for a cheap way to create this insane feedback like forever. I'm stealing this pedal for this track, and now it's in
Nice.
like every single transitionary, no pun intended, piece of Overtone, and it's really nice. But yeah, no, literally, I've nothing more to add. It was just that like Amber, the Amber, yeah, when we started jamming together, she was like, the first rule of like the band is that we're all having fun, and then if that's kind of like not the case, then like so like
Yeah.
We go outside and we have a chat.
presumably we're all still having fun because we're all still here. So you know.
Perfect. Actually, how long has the band kind of been going? So you said like during lockdown, would that have been 2020 or 2021?
I guess tail end of lockdown because early 2022, I think, like it was definitely not peak lockdown. It was sort of we're all re-emerging into society, but it's still a way to hang out with, a small amount of people at a time. And it was an affordable enough thing to do, by the time you split the cost of rehearsal space between a couple of people, you're like, well, you wouldn't go to a bar and spend 4 hours there for this amount of money. So we're doing great, actually.
And you're actually getting something out of it.
Yeah, so I'd say we started jamming last year. We did a very teeny weeny little gig in Unshaw towards the end of last year. Yep. But I would really say that we sat down and we were like, we're Touch Excellent and we are being a band, like start of 2023.
Perfect.
Like, yeah, putting out houses and stuff was us like declaring that.
I guess the last thing I'll ask you is just simply, what does the kind of future hold? I mean, what's kind of your plans, either immediate or distant?
Well, I guess to some extent there's whatever we end up doing with these tracks recording in Temple Lane. So again, possible EP, whatever. Would be nice to travel abroad and play music somehow. I don't know, continue playing music with bands that we really like. Like we got to open for Problem Patterns for their album launch lately, Blouse Club, and that was best ever. So being able to play with more bands that I like and look up to and enjoy will be wonderful. I like everyone that we've played with, but you know how it is. Like the bands where you've been like looking up to these people for years and years and stuff.
Is that very
Um,
flattering then when you get those opportunities to be like, oh, I'm with like this band kind of respects me enough to ask me to open.
yeah. Oh, it was so awesome to be asked and then to travel up and everything and to have them be like, and thank you to Touch Excellent. It was really good. Yeah.
I will also say Lenny is an unstoppable songwriting machine. So
Oh
we
yeah.
also have a significant back catalog. So I think the live catalog will also be expanding for 2024. We've got some exciting stuff in the works.
Actually, some of
Yeah,
that. Sorry,
more opportunities to play these other songs that we just can't fit into a half-hour set would be great.
Are you ever tempted to just like record from the sound monitor during the live show and just like get like a live track of what your songs are like, or
Um, Definitely interested in something like that. Yeah, we have friends who are like various levels of sound tech working live sound things. So we've talked about recording something live before, but we haven't put it into motion yet.
okay?
Yeah.
Well, best of luck with everything you do, and seriously, I think what you're doing is like really good stuff musically and politically actively.
Okay.
I sincerely mean that. Yeah, and thanks for talking to me. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting us to do this. This was really great.
Absolutely, and if in the future you ever have anything you want to promote, let me know.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Enjoy the rest of your day.
All right. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to that episode of Post-Burnout.com interviews. We hope you enjoyed and stay tuned for more.